Hello, welcome to Michael's Recount, which this series was originally created to recount the adventures of Rodgers, which have come to their end. But why I'm doing this recount, this new extended recount, is one, because the old one was quite quiet because of the recording equipment, and two, I recounted some things slightly incorrectly. So, yeah, and rocking chair fun, but welcome to Michael's recount. So, we're starting off here in the devouring where it all started. Eventually, I would get to experience it for myself, but it was quite a dangerous place, I gotta say that. Yeah, it is a haunted place, haunted by the living darkness made by the Covenant, and luckily the Covenant are defeated, but not the living darkness. It's still alive in multiple places, which is annoying, but I'm not here to recount that. I'm here to recount Rodgers and what's happened here. So before Rodgers and Stewart and Boop Boop and my half-brother Jimmy got here, many disappearances had happened here, such as a famous streamer, vlogger, YouTuber, Saxton Ireland, known as Mark Septic Pie Gamer, and they were a big hit on all the different platforms, and they were killed here in the Devouring Mansion, same as their assistant Sam, who wrote the notes within this mansion, and the mysterious businessman who also was possessed, apparently, and yeah, which my brother Jimmy would also be possessed here at this mansion, and almost one of my agents, Agent Kevin, was almost possessed here as well. This place certainly does like to mess with your memories and tries to possess you. But what happened here was Roger and Stewart were investigating, as they do, and they took Boop Boop with them. Boop Boop was thought to be lost at a point, but Boop Boop somehow survived, and now knowing Boop Boop's true god of SCPs, I see how Boop Boop could have survived. But yeah, Boop Boop is definitely interesting. Boop Boop can hear you always, Michael. Oh my lord. And there's Boop Boop. Yeah. This adventure would end off with my brother Jimmy swearing vengeance against the Covenant that wronged him, and Rodgers and Stewart would continue in more adventures and find Boop Boop later down the track. But now is the miscellaneous adventures, so I'm going to be now transferring to a different location, being Site 42 for the miscellaneous adventures. And now we're here at Site 42, which was an important place to the progression of my relationship with Rodgers. So after the Devouring Mansion, which Jimmy left to continue with the war, Rodgers and Stewart would go on future cases. There was a haunted house or something, and there was a ghost, and a rival agency had their head detective, Detective Jack, on the case, which later Detective Jack would become a part of the MD Detective Agency and join Rodgers and Stewart. But back then, Jack was a rival, so Jack was there to investigate the ghost, and Rodgers and Stewart would also be fighting over trying to investigate the ghost, and eventually Stewart would somehow get injured, and that would lead them to go to the hospital. Jack would continue to investigate the ghost. Basically, at the hospital, Rodgers would stab multiple needles into Stewart, causing them to die, which a doctor was present to see that. And I was there following in secret, posing as a security officer slash police officer. Eventually, there would be reports of someone at old castle town that there was a ghost or something in the area, and at the time I had the Book of Truths with me, which was a useful SCP. Unfortunately, I think the true Book of Truths died to a false Book of Truths that came in at some point to replace it after a point, but back then it was the actual Book of Truths from this universe, and it would help me try and gain the truth. But at this snow old town, which I could actually show, so I'm gonna go there and then come back here later. So yeah, I'm gonna go to the town. So here's the castle town I mentioned. So me, Rodgers, and the Book of Truths would arrive here to find that the ghost that was supposedly haunting the place was not a ghost at all. Well, part ghost, but it was Stewart. Stewart had survived somehow and became, I guess, part ghost, just like Rodgers. But yeah, Stewart is lucky that they survived at the time. But yeah, this place is where I would eventually try and take them back to the Foundation to be interrogated at Site 42. I might as well just stay here while I continue to recount, but after taking them back, I put them in cells to contain them, but eventually decided to start freeing them because I had already freed the Book of Truths and gone against the rules of the Foundation, and we had an agreement. But I decided if I really want to save the safe SCPs, the ones that actually save that decent people, I should actually start doing it, start taking actions. So that's why I freed Rodgers and Stewart, and eventually we would be on the run from the Foundation, which the first place we oddly went to enough after getting out of Site 42 was going to a Starbucks, which I would beat up, and I thought I had killed the cop. But it turns out the cop was alive. I would later find that out. But yeah, that cop would actually be alive. They also happen to look a lot like me, especially when I'm in wolf form. But yeah, that cop was not killed, luckily. And yeah, but I would take the outfit to disguise myself. But this would be the beginning of our relationship as, you know, friends and colleagues and whatever. So after the incident of escaping, next would be one of the places I remember a lot, especially since I've been there quite a few times, is Noir. So next I shall be recounting Noir within the realm of Noir, which also happens to be connected to level 91, I believe, of the back rooms. But let's go to Noir. Sorry to mislead you, but I forgot. Before Noir, me, Rodgers, and Stewart would go on one adventure beforehand I don't remember as well, which was the first haunted Disneyland that we went to, being this one, and it would be before Fever Dream. We went to Fever Dream, but this would be the place where I would deal with the living darkness for the first time. And yeah, again, the living darkness can cause memory issues, so no wonder I almost forgot to mention about it, because I commonly forget about this adventure because I don't even really remember what happened, other than Rodgers, me, and Stewart were here once, and that's about all I remember. All I remember is Stewart really didn't like the first one, because every time I tried to talk about it with them, they said, I don't want to talk about it. They even really didn't like Fever Dream. Well, sort of didn't like Fever Dream, I don't know. But yeah, either way, haunted lands are still not great, especially Disney haunted lands, because of you, the damn mouse. Mickey Mouse. I just want to kill the goddamn mouse. When will you die? When will you die? Okay, but we're gonna continue on. Now it's gonna be Noir. And now we are here at Noir. Oh man, what an adventure it was at Noir. Noir was one hell of an adventure for me, Rodgers, Stewart, and Detective Jack, which by this point they had joined the agency, sort of. But yeah, this would be the beginning of our group expanding, especially at the end of this adventure. Detective Blue would find us in the desert and introduce us to his home, being the Void. Well, sort of his home. It's his sort of like second home, because he comes from the Among Us universe apparently, or at least the Among Us universe exists within his universe. His universe is still fairly unique from what I heard from him. But yeah. The Noir incident, the adventure here, was quite intriguing, and the sentinels that roam the streets quite dangerous, but we would have to collect gears to activate a portal and get out of the portal using Ghosto trademark, as SCP-1879 would say, because they were here in Noir trying to sell it once, and yeah, and this place is definitely a little bit dangerous and all that, and it sometimes can rain here as well, but yeah, it is definitely a bit of a dangerous and odd realm, but still a pretty memorable adventure. But after the Noir adventure would be Fever Dream, the one and only, where Mickey Mouse would really cement himself as one of my long-term enemies. So let's head to Fever Dream. And here we are at this goddamn place. Gotta resist the urge. Gotta resist. Nope, I gotta shoot it. I've gotta shoot the damn mouse, you damn goddamn mouse. So what happened here is with Rodgers is a lot of people were here. Me, Rodgers, Stewart, Detective Blue, Detective Jack, also the return of Boop Boop, and yeah, this place would be hell. So much would go on within this goddamn place that it really is a goddamn fever dream, and I don't trust Mickey Mouse. He is goddamn evil. Yeah, you might be waving, you son of a gun, but I will kill you and blow this place to hell. I have a lot of PTSD over this place because of that. You son of a gun. But yeah, a lot of hell went on in this place because of goddamn Mickey Mouse and all the other stuff. You damn mouse, I will eat you. I will eat you, you cursed mouse. But yeah, it was fun and really, really fun. Luckily, we would be able to get out thanks to Blue's void portals, and yeah, I still use the void until this day because Blue, like, helped me, I guess, understand it, and yeah. And it's a good thing the side effects never really affected anyone of our group. So that was lucky because he mentioned that there was side effects. Also, in Noir Nocturne, I learned that the Collector also seems to know of the Void, and he knows there's side effects to it as well. And yeah, it's very interesting how he knew about it as well. But yeah, all of this was hell. Next would be WDCast and the Horror Hospital. Well, Horror Hospital first, then WDCast. But yeah, that's where I'm going. Well, what remains of the WDKS simulation, and it'll get me away from this hell, god damn. But yeah, let's go there. Here we are at WDCast, or at least what remains of it, to recount what happened at the Horror Hospital and WDCast. And here's the message from Boop Boop. Boop Boop can be anywhere. Yes, I know, and there's a void portal behind here too. Why call Boop Boop's realm? Yes, that's Boop Boop's realm. Boop Boop made it. Boop Boop. Yeah. The Horror Hospital was an interesting event because there was like weird SCP creature there that I had to try and deal with. I wasn't too successful until later on, but yeah, it's definitely contained now. Wasn't contained on the day of that adventure though. But then we would fall through like a hell pit to eventually end up in the WDKS simulation, which everyone was there, like Blue, Jack, Stuart, Rodgers. They were all there. But eventually Blue would go missing after a horror hospital within the WDCast simulation, and yeah, they would go missing. But after Blue went missing, I would activate my drone Charlie during the WDCast simulation to try and help us out, and yeah, we named Charlie on the day. Before that point, Charlie didn't have a name. But yeah, WDCast and the Horror Hospital were interesting events. Also, during WDCast simulation, there was 4 parts. Well, 5 sort of, but there was the haunted church area with the nuns, the haunted hospital, the haunted house being Mrs. Filch's house, which I eventually would deal with the real Miss Filch, and she returned recently in Time War. Yeah, quite annoying that she's back, but you know, that's how things go. Yeah, the third part would be dealing with Wendigos on Mount Everstone, which I told that event to my agent Kevin that I think I mentioned earlier during the devouring. He was someone that I was at the devouring mansion with. But the last part would be a haunted school where we would be haunted by some girl ghost, whatever. And yeah, that's where things would end off. The next two adventures I'm going to recount the space station event, which oddly no one remembers, and the obsession incident. But let's head to the obsession manor to recount both those adventures. And now we're here at the Obsession Manor, which I've been to before long, long ago. And yeah, it was quite an interesting time. But first, I'm going to recount the space station incident. So somehow, me, Rodgers, Stewart, Jack, and Detective Blue had ended up in space somehow, and the living darkness was aboard that ship. So now that I remember that the living darkness causes memory problems, no wonder Jack, Blue, Rodgers and Stewart don't remember. Well, Rodgers remembers half of the time. He remembers sometimes and sometimes he forgets. I'm the only one that somehow remembered. I guess that time I was lucky. So now it makes sense. The living darkness was on the space station and it causes memory problems. Oh my god. It suddenly makes so much sense. Oh. Damn, I wish I had realized that a lot sooner. Damn. But yeah, basically we would have to clear out the living darkness and all that and save the ship. And somehow we were successful, but when we returned, we had no memory of the events except for, me and Rodgers half of the time. But yeah, after the space station incident, we would end up going here to the Obsession Manor, which I was very lucky to never encounter the ghost when we were here. So I was incredibly lucky to not have to deal with it. I was very, very lucky. But yeah, this would be quite an interesting time because it was one hell of a time dealing with all of the other stuff going on with the other four, while I was very lucky and didn't have to deal with any of it, any of the danger while we were here. But yeah, definitely one hell of an adventure. But after this would be Crypto Spirits, which I've been to a few times. But yeah, I'm gonna transfer location to recount the adventure at Crypto Spirits. And here we are at Crypto Spirits, one of the smaller sort of adventures, but not too small. But the Crypto Spirits realm is quite an interesting one. It changes the color of yourself. Like for Blue, he was like orange and pink. So he was quite different to usual. Like everyone was fairly different except for like me and like Stuart were probably the most normal. Stuart was only like slightly blue, same as me. As I might have mentioned in the past, but haven't mentioned so far in this recount, it's very common that the gang, the Rodgers gang, ended up as silhouettes or being changed by these mysterious realms that we went into. So most realms would have some sort of effect on us. Like for Noir, it made us all black and white. In that case, I was black and white. That case, I wasn't really the normal one. But from usually that point onwards, I was the most normal usually. Usually I wouldn't change color like here in the Crypt of Spirits or become a silhouette in a fever dream or other realms like WDKS. I didn't become a silhouette. And what else? There was many places that we often changed. Oh yes, Santa Amelia, which we'll get to later. Everyone was basically a silhouette except Rodgers and Jack slightly. They were half a silhouette. Their jacket was very bright. Yeah. It tends to be that I'm the most normal usually, or at least I'm almost always normal or relatively normal. But yeah, it's definitely an odd thing that's always happened. But here at Crypt of Spirits, we would try and help out the spirits, I guess, and free them. But apparently it wasn't successful, or maybe it was, but didn't free all of them because later I would come back here and free them again with another friend, M, who was a mysterious SCP that was somehow here. But yeah, all of it was a strange adventure within Crypt of Spirit. Lots of puzzles, lots of deadly eyeballs, and yeah. But next I'm gonna recount the boat cruise, Al's ship, what happened on that ship. So yeah, that's where we'll be next on Al's ship, which I now own. And actually, I've been doing something to try and make a better version of the ship, but I'll talk about that once I'm aboard. So that's where we'll be heading next. And now we're here, Al's cruise, Al's boat, except now it's my boat, and I'm going to be making a new, bigger version that should be safer than this old one and, be more proper. But, yeah, Al's boat was one of the most interesting adventures, oddly enough. Who knew so much could happen on a boat? I got crushed in the elevator, this goddamn elevator right here. I got crushed into the elevator. Also told Blue about, my speed powers, my regeneration powers, how I killed the O5 and all that sort of stuff. So Blue was constantly stumped all day by the information I was giving to him to what had happened recently at the time. Detective Blue definitely would have had the best day, especially since later he would go missing again. Detective Blue does tend to seem to disappear sometimes. I don't know why, but it must be something to do with the side effects of the void, as all I can gather. I'm guessing it can sometimes randomly teleport you away. I mean, it can teleport you to useful places, but it seems like Blue's been in the void long enough for it to have serious side effects like that. That's the best guess, though. I'm not absolutely certain on that. But, yeah, even though I'm uncertain on that issue, what I am certain is I misfired my gun on this boat. My gun knife. Oh my god, I forgot about that. I have a gun which is both a gun and a knife. A gun knife. And a lot happened. Also, this ship sank like the Titanic, except unlike the Titanic, it didn't split in half, which, is a surprise that a giant ship would split in half like that, but, it's definitely unique when a ship splits in half. I guess it was just that big that split in half. But this adventure was filled with all sorts of stuff, like me learning about the League of Villains, all sorts of like tiny little moments that all happened on this one small cruise ship. It's honestly sort of crazy how much happened in the span of about an hour. That's how long we were on the ship. About an hour or so, and even the others had set up rooms, especially Blue's room is quite decorated with Zelda stuff, Legend of Zelda stuff, and Rodgers hid like cheap mac and cheese under the pillow and messed with his computer, which was definitely unfortunate. And here it is, the room. I moved the mac and cheese to somewhere else, I think back up nearby the backwards deck. I think it's referred to as the bow deck, but I'm not too certain on that. I forget if the bow's the front or back. But the cheap mac and cheese. Never mind, I didn't move it over here. Where did I move it? Oh, over here. Yes, indeed, the cheap mac and cheese. And Al said it wasn't cheap, which I guess when you buy in stock, yeah, it ain't cheap. But at least this one has the potential to win $250 in cash. So with all the mac and cheese Al has, I mean, it's very likely that he could have won the $250 odd dollars, not 250, 250,000, yeah, $250,000. A little bit off, but missed a few zeros, but it's fine. And but I managed to find the lady who worked for Al. Now she's going to be working at my new version of the Salt Cruise, as I call it. Yeah, but this adventure would be quite interesting. But next we have the podcast, which I can recount at Al's studio on one of Al's locations. So I'm gonna be there next. And here we are at Al's studio, which was where the podcast was recorded, where we would be asked questions on our group. But most of the time it seemed to revolve around food, from what I can remember. I don't know. I accidentally spilled some popcorn on Jack and Blue, who had to clean up their suits and all that. I did apologize to them, but it was unfortunate, definitely unfortunate. A lot happened during the podcast, but the Owl Show now is no longer owned by Owl. It was owned by Alistair for a time until Alucard came and killed him somehow. It's quite amazing that Alucard somehow managed to do that. So now it's the Alucard show, and he was kind enough to allow me to come in here, but I've always been allowed here. But quite interesting that all sorts of stuff seemed to happen here. This non-adventure, like it wasn't really an adventure, it was more just sitting around talking, but it was still interesting nonetheless what happened here. And now it brings us to the final adventure, the final thing being Sad Amelia, which luckily I was able to help her to a resolution. And let's go to Sad Amelia's cabin in the woods. So that's where we'll be next. And now I'm here at Amelia's house. I'm glad Amelia got a happy ending in the end of all things. Oh Lord, she was burnt And here being a witch's cauldron is really representative of like her. She was burnt, she had no friends, she was alone. But then I turn up and, manage to finally, do something about it. Make people hear her story. And once enough people had heard the story, she could finally be free. And, once there was actually people that liked her and felt pity, she could actually finally be free from the torment because she can always have friends with people like me. It's so sad that I might never see Amelia again, but it's good that she got a good ending. Not many people do after having an unfortunate end, like being burnt alive. But it was definitely a tragic tale for Amelia. But what happened with Rodgers and Stewart and Jack and Blue here? Well, sort of multiple things happened. I can't remember which was the correct thing that happened. All I know is for certain is Jack and Blue left and went ahead and at some point during the whole incident. They were not exactly, I don't know. I just don't like how they left us. Well, left me, especially since I was seeing upside down and everyone left me behind. At least I found Rodgers and Stewart, I think. I either did or did not find them at the Blue Room. And then later, I either ended up in a void or woke up. So I either was in the void with them or alone in the void, or woke up with them and headed out, or woke up and then found them. So 3 of the 4 endings I, united with them basically immediately or sometime thereafter of the Blue Room. But it was definitely odd. I can't remember if Rodgers had a normal Rodgers moment or talked about Hot Pockets, which he always goes on about when he was still around, that is. All of it is sad, and this was where the last adventure would take place. So now I guess I've got to cap off the stories of each individual of the MD Detective Agency. So I might as well head to the MD Detective Agency to recount what happened to everyone after the last adventure and what, took place. So yeah, I'm going to head to the Detective Agency and basically recount what happened to everyone that was ever involved in the adventures of Rodgers. So yeah, I'm going to the Detective Agency now. So I'm here at the Detective Agency to recount what happened to the people that were involved with Rodgers. I'm going to start off with counting what happened to the lesser known individuals, those individuals that were not as important to the story. So for the ghost that was in that ghost house or whatever when Jack was still a rival, it was properly contained. For the doctor that had to deal with Rodgers, stabbing Stewart with multiple needles, they were properly compensated as they lost quite some time to Rodgers. So they were paid fairly and any damages that might have occurred were repaired. But later, after me capturing Stewart and Rodgers, then freeing them again, the cop that I would knock out luckily had a good career despite the blemish of being knocked out and uniform stolen by someone, but now they know so that blemish has been removed, so they've had a pretty good career other than that incident, so I still regret having to knock them out, but at least they're alive and not dead because I thought I killed them, but they were actually alive. But other people that had to deal with Rodgers were Charlie being my drone, who became methane. God damn, that's kind of crazy. Then there's Al being Stuart's brother, who was a former member of the League of Villains, who is part demon. And I should have realized that because he said some odd things back on the cruise ship. I just thought he was maybe joking or something, but no, he was part demon. Jesus, but yeah. Others like the Book of Truths that helped me out. Also, there was others like Boop Boop, who was, Rodgers' niece nephew, but also turned out to be true god of SCPs. So yeah, that's one hell of a thing. Others would be probably no one else that I can think of at the moment, but there was definitely some people that had joined us on adventures throughout, but now onto the main group. Detective Jack was dead. When the universe was altered by my mother, Detective Jack was definitely dead. Same for Stuart. Although I have some odd feeling of something about Stuart. I can't put my finger on it at the moment, but I have a feeling of something happened with Stuart, but I have no idea. I don't know. As far as I'm aware, Stuart's dead, so yeah, I don't know. But then there was Rodgers, who apparently survived, but later fully erased once I was aware of Rodgers being alive. That day was horrible. And then turns out Blue survived as well for a time. Unfortunately died as well. Nothing really went well, I guess. And then there was me and Jimmy, the only two that are still alive, really, well, other than Boop Boop and Charlie, but, it's unfortunate that we're the only ones left, the only ones that will ever know Rodgers, and Boop Boop is technically related to Rodgers, but also not related to Rodgers. Oh god, it's confusing. The family tree is definitely confusing, but yeah, I guess this brings me to the end of my recount. It's definitely been one hell of an adventure with Rodgers over the time I knew them. It might have only been like 6 months or so, because like December 2020 to August 2021, but 3 months I had lost my memories, so technically it was 9, but minus 3 to 9 is 6, so 6 months. So yeah, I definitely wish I had more time with Rodgers. It was definitely one hell of a time. I mean, all of it was so great. Like, all the little moments that I can remember were great. They were fantastic. Rewatching that footage definitely brings me a lot of joy, but it also brings me a lot of pain. And Jimmy once found me watching old footage, and yeah, it has been a hard time for me without Rodgers, but I've managed to continue on even without Rodgers. But yeah, but this brings me to the end of the renewed and expanded recount. This is the full adventure of Rodgers, and it's such a shame that it's gone, but I guess people can't live forever, and Rodgers was just a very special friend of mine, and I don't know if I'll have something like that ever again. I mean, I've definitely gone close with like M and others, but Rodgers was unique. He was one of a kind. He changed my life forever. He was really the first person to make a serious impact on my life. He definitely saved me from the darkness. He saved me from the darkness in more than just one way, like literally saved me from the living darkness created by the covenant. But he saved me from my own darkness, and he is the reason why, I even know about the living darkness and all that. If I hadn't been with them, I would have known that darkness was hunting me and my brother Jimmy, and it's still around. It's still around, the goddamn living darkness. It will never be gone. Even if the Covenant are defeated, it'll never be gone. It can't be beaten that easily. Hopefully one day I find a solution, but I doubt it'll be anytime soon. But for now, this is Michael signing out for Michael's Recount. Sounds very similar to when I sign out in Michael's report, but I guess the recount was my first iteration of doing something in a report style, and the recount was to recount Rodgers's stuff, Rodgers's adventures, the adventures of Detective Rodgers, as I've always called it and will always continue to call it. But yeah, this is the end until next time, but there's going to be no more recounts because nothing else to recount on for Rodgers. It's done, it's complete. But yeah, until next time, Foundation.